Here we are. We are live. Super excited. I literally ran to this phone call. So did my man Sandro, who I'll be introducing today. But I've only known Sandro probably for the last 12 months, but has had a massive impact on my life and dealing with a lot of emotional baggage and introduced me to breathwork. Sandro, number 29. Welcome, bro. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for me and spending the next 30 minutes having a bit of a chat.
I'm the one to thank you very much, Steve. It's a real honor to be here with you, and was an enormous pleasure to be introduced to you by our common friend Dom, right?
And Zark, actually, I think Zark,
Oh,
and then
God, that's true. And they introduced you Dom. That's true. Was the other way around. That's
yeah,
true.
it's a
So yeah,
small world. So I suppose I always love starting the conversation with what have you discovered? First, an introduction of kind of how you came to the point that you are now, living in New Zealand, coming from Brazil and trekking around the world. And what have you discovered over the last 8 weeks? Because it has been a very uncertain, turbulent, crazy time. So, just a quick backstory, and then that discovery of the last 8 weeks, bro.
cool. So I'll try to be kind of brief because I have the talking too much habit. So I'm gonna try to be a little bit brief. So I was born in Brazil. I'm 41 years old. I've been raised by a single mother, my brother and I. So at a very young age, Steve, at the age of 6 or 7 years old, I can't really recall the exactly age. My mother is Catholic, and she gave my brother and I the freedom to just search for our own, you can name religion, connection, whatsoever. And Brazil is well known for being very eclectic and very spiritual, religious. So I was always a very curious young boy. And at the age of 7, I just started exploring everything I could put my hands on. I would take bus by myself and go to Catholic church, then go to spiritualist center, then go to messianic centers, then going to white magic, then spiritual centers. So I was searching since the age of 7 years old. I don't know what I was searching, but I was searching something. And I was maybe 8 to 9 years old. I was in one of those centers, and an old lady came to me and said to me, "Listen, you have and you can't deny, you can't run away." And that was in Portuguese, was in my hometown. And I was kind of excited and afraid because that was a spiritualist center, and I was, oh, that's. But I was excited. No, I play, I laugh. I told mom, and she told me, "Don't joke with that. Just respect." But then we went back again as the whole family, and the same thing come out now from a different person. You have and you can't deny. Sooner or later, you have to just honor. And I was so young, but I still remember. And then I left Brazil. I left university. I didn't enjoy what I was doing, which was business administration. And I just jumped into working for the hotel industry. And my dream was to travel, but mom didn't have money to put us to travel and study outside Brazil. But I said, no, I'm gonna travel. And sure enough, I started working for a hotel company. And after 11 months, at the age of 19, I was sent to Tunisia in Africa on my own to work for that hotel. And that's pretty much when I cut my umbilical cord with everything that was attached to me in Brazil, where I just spread my wings and having all that very strong spiritual background. I always knew something out there in the world. Was like Brazil was too small for me. I need to go somewhere. I need to explore. And then what I noticed in the hotel I was working, I lived in 6 different countries with that hotel company, and all my co-workers, colleagues that were like a family, anytime they had anything to say or to cry or to complain, I was always the one that they came to me. And at the same time, I was very honored and very happy to help and to listen to. I was noticed that was like a pattern. And I know that more and more, even from a young age, people come to tell me the problems and whatsoever. So then I feel like that hotel industry took me a little bit away from what I was looking for and put me into what I need to learn the most because I started to drink too much. Uh, I was literally drinking like a bottle of rum every day, and partying every night and doing windsurfing, water skiing, be kind of that playboy, not making money at all, but having the life like a king. And that almost kind of, I'm very grateful I had a strong base of a faith, of I believe should not go through the wrong path in that journey. But at that dark moment, which I would say was dark in so much alcohol and party, is where I thought that, okay, I have to rescue myself here because I'm not feeling myself, but I need to go through that. And that's when I just left that hotel and that hotel company, and I started to work with a very amazing guy that pretty much took me on board almost like his son, named Mark Solinger. I'm gonna send that podcast to him because I'm sure he has a very, very special place in my heart. I used to call him dad. But this man just brought me back to be more centered again. He was a very military regime guy. And that bring me back to just slowly start to go, okay, I'm rescuing myself here. This beautiful man that took me like his son just brought me back from the ashes. I was homeless when I met him. And then when I came to New Zealand after I left St. Martin, I went to Mexico. And in Mexico, 10 years ago, I met my wife. And I ended up in New Zealand. She was on vacation. And in New Zealand, I started to just looking for answers again. And that's when the breath work come into my life.
Mm.
So
So let's talk, and mate, thank you so much for giving us that timeline. And yeah, you've been led by curiosity literally around the world, and now you've literally found this grounding space in New Zealand where you now call home and called home for a long time. Now let's talk about breath work. Now breath work is obviously a bit of a buzzword going around with whether it's Wim Hof and that sort of thing, but you've started breath work before all these buzzwords. You started doing the work before it was on trend, and maybe it was a little bit left of center. It was a bit woo woo or out left, and now it's literally like everyone is talking about breath and being able to be still. And I really want to be able to dive into the power and the transformational breath has, whether it's Wim Hof. There's so many different methodologies, just like mindsets or methodologies in solving problems, design thinking, appreciative inquiry. But in breath, there are so many different methodologies that can help people immensely. Like I know you took me through probably the biggest transformational journey in a space of an hour and a half, literally doing breath work. And I got so deep and dark. I don't want to spend too much time on myself, but deep and dark and rock bottom. And I literally, the only option for me was to look at plant medicine or ayahuasca, or where I know some people and doctors that have gone through and that's really helped. But I kept pulling out at the last minute because I was like, there must be another way, subconsciously, or the universe was like, Steve, you haven't done enough work internally to even go and try plant medicine. And that's when we got connected with Zark, an incredible other thought leader in the space that helps people transform. And literally in an hour and a half of breath work and you guiding me through that, being able to take me back and understanding the deep trauma that is subconsciously been cooking away and repeating itself throughout life. And yeah, I want to go deep. I really want to talk about how you are transforming people. It's a big statement, but I can personally vouch for it. I can probably have 10 other people on this that have gone through this journey. Why, how, where to next with breath work? Like you literally can take people to trauma, limiting beliefs. Give us some mechanics. And for people that have no idea about breath work, what is it? What's next?
It's many things we can talk about breath, Steve, as you know, and I'm very grateful you had that beautiful experience, which was very, very breakthrough for you, and also me. Witness was very beautiful for myself. But if you see, if you take the breath and dissecate it the way that we're breathing, you can take different ways to achieve different things. Yeah.
Mm.
So we have, for example, nose and mouth. Of course, nose is made to breathe, mouth is made to talk and eat. But you can use either of those two to breathe differently to achieve different outcomes. So my first connection with breath was when I was in Mexico 11 years ago. I knew Wim Hof. I did one thing that I saw was Wim Hof, and I was like, wow. But when I came to New Zealand and I started to dive deep into the Wim Hof, I was so fascinated about that I just become an instructor in the first year. I traveled to Beverly Hills, then to Portland. And if you see the Wim Hof method, for example, is a method that's a combination of a type of breathing technique combined almost like a hyperventilating with some
Mm.
breath hold with hypercapnia and hypoxia, both together. And that will just do all those tinglies and sensations and also pretty much give you control of your ANS, autonomic nervous system. And then you use also the ice bath and also the mindset. So the Wim Hof is three pillars, right? And the Wim Hof, for me, Wim, for example, say, breathe through any hole. Because people ask mouth or nose, he said, don't freaking matter, just breathe through any hole that you have.
Yeah.
So Wim, in my opinion, he's a genius. You know, he took something from the Tumo, which the some monks from the Tibet, and he just dissecated all the breed with all the techniques and create his own breath work. And when the first time you do the Wim Hof, you just know that something there that's above and beyond than what we can see. So that's when, like 6 years ago, I was like, shoot, it must be something that is even stronger than that. And
Mm.
again, be very curious. I become a Wim Hof instructor, which I think is fascinating. And thank you, Wim, for being this planet and open the door for all the breath worker healers, whatever you want to call. And then I was like, okay, Wim said mouth, nose, even whatever hole you have, you can breathe through it. But
Yeah.
But I start to be curious what the difference here between nose and mouth. And then I start to investigating the Buteyko method, which is a Russian method created by Dr. Buteyko long time ago. And this method, it preaches only nasal breathing. So he condemned completely the mouth breathing. And they explain in a very scientifically way why CO2 is a very beneficial gas. So when I start to read about Boteico, again, my curiosity in my uh, urge to learn quickly, I just contacted one of the masters in Thailand and I said, no, I'm paying you how much it is. I want you to become a instructor. And then I and then I spent a whole year studying with this guy uh, to become a Boteico instructor. And through the Boteco, I saw that a lot of things that Wim Hof was preaching and doing was very different to what Boteco was doing and preaching. But they both achieve different things physiologically,
Mm.
complement each other, but they both very kind of the opposite. You know, Wim is breathe, 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 and have some breath holds in between,
Yeah. No,
which
I think what you and I'm so grateful that you bring up these different methodologies because we know one one size doesn't fit all, and I really love breath work is so much more. And to be honest, there's probably more methodologies that are out there that's yet to be discovered, like whether it's Mayan or other religions or other cultures, different breathworks. And what you've done is literally traveled the world for years, literally studying from the masters and different, and being able to bring that together to work through individuals, whether it's performance when you're working with athletes, or it's with people that have severe depression and anxiety. And then, like, I love how you run some workshops and it's based on a theme. And the theme that I'd love to kind of bring up right now is there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, and there's a lot of limiting beliefs, I think, that is circling around the planet because people are like, wow, I'm out of a job. I've been in that job for 30 years as a banker, that my job is extinct. I have no confidence to get into a new job. I have limiting beliefs. And that's what really helped me transform to go, the whole I am enough versus I'm not good enough, literally reframing this. So not only do you bring breath work into it, it's the guiding of the breath work. And so what's your thoughts on why is breath work so important right now?
I believe because people start to rescue what been working for thousands of years, and
Yeah.
they start to see that what we have available now from the traditional medicine is not enough. So they're looking for answers as well, and they go like, shit, I don't think the Indians for many, many thousands of years had that amount of depression pain that we have. So breath was always there, breath always exists. But in like you said, Steve, no, breath has an unlimited combinations that you can play and go with once you have the basics. And I apply the breath with also the belief that a lot of our, like you said, uncertainty, thanks for talking about that,
Mm.
uncertainty, it really brings back what we've been dealing with as a childhood.
Mm.
So every single pain we go through now, and you hold to it, and you just have that anxious feeling of we're not gonna move forward. I truly believe it has been dragging for many years from our childhood, from a time that we didn't feel enough, that we feel that we've been let down by our parents, or that we've been bullied at school, or that we just feel abandoned. We just feel like we didn't get enough love. We all go through that in some stage of life that today look like it's not very important. But if you look back then as a child, it was extremely traumatic for us. So the breath work is pretty much open pathways, neurological pathways in your brain that with the guidance will allow you to go to those places and times where that pain is started.
Yeah, and I think and you'll be able to give me the scientific kind of reasoning behind this, and I might butcher it, but I know when I did breath work for the first time, it is hard work. It's not easy. Like to be able, like we got to realize that we're humans that are now programmed that we have gone from apes sitting around waiting to hunt a tiger generations ago to now getting these dopamine and responses from an email coming through. So we're literally in this fight or flight response or fighting the whole time, is that we're forgetting to actually breathe. So we actually need reminders to go. And a good friend of mine, Jan, who's a health coach, he's like, 4 times in a day, take note and write in your gratitude journal. I was present with my breath, and I'm like, our generations before didn't have to ask these questions. So literally, I asked the question is like, when someone gets an email in their inbox, do you hold your breath momentarily? And everyone's like, I do, because I don't know, is that a positive email or a negative email? But I go in anticipation of, oh shit, I need to protect myself. So when I did the breathwork session with you, it was just like you had the breathwork and the breath gave me permission to kind of get out of my head, being an entrepreneur, constantly thinking all the time. You'll be able to tell me why that actually happened in regards to shutting down your thinking side of things and you get back to your heart and you can actually feel things. Is that right? So what actually happens when you get
It,
into
it is right in a point that you touch a very good point, Steve. But if you see in a very easy and very simple way to explain is our brain have also three compartments, which the prefrontal, which is Steve, the businessman, lives most of the time, where you have to, create and get. We all live there most of our time, right? Because we need to find solutions. Then we have the limbic brain or mammalian brain, which is here, which is emotion. And this one here, we go there a lot of times, and a lot of times we avoid to go there
yeah.
because we want to deal with those emotions. And the other one, which is the reptilian brain, which you know that if you see a skinny mother that lifts a 500 kilograms car because her son is underneath the car, that's the reptilian brain, the survival brain. So if you see what the breath does, the way that the breath does is, first of all, we change the pH of your body, and you feel all those tingling sensations and everything else. And you start to redistribute it, how it's in English, make an equal distribution
Yep.
of blood flow in between those three areas, prefrontal, limbic, and reptilian. So what you have here now is a full conversation in between all those three parts of your brain: thinking, emotion, and survival, which most of the time we are here. And from here, we start to create that anger or that anxiety because you'll be like, oh my gosh, is my boss going to send me an email? So you're thinking already without even happening.
Yeah.
You're sitting here the whole time. So the breath, pretty much, the way that I do that trauma release that we have done together is without you even knowing, just get blood flowing going equally on your brain in a way that the circuit is pretty much having a conversation. And throughout the guidance, throughout music and the breath, you create a very strong heart brain coherence, which what you feel and what you know here is fully connected. And then I can start to guide Steve without any resistance from this protection here, because the prefrontal cortex works as a natural protection of psychological and emotional pain.
It's
So
like your filter, isn't it? It's like, and that's why it literally can. It's is it your strongest part of your brain in regards to like it blocks out a lot of things before it actually gets to the other side. So we literally are in past and future without even being able to sit with emotion. I think that again, we can talk so many advantages of just focusing on breath. Like remove breath work and just talk about breath for 30 minutes. Is that by focusing on breath and counting breaths, you become present and you sit still. So you can sit with emotions. And like when I did it, it's you can let emotions come out and be felt and be heard and be seen. So like whether people are laughing or crying, and like I've never cried so much in one session, or I've never laughed so much, is because we've finally stopped thinking about our emotions and just feel the emotions. Is that right?
yeah, exactly. You just allow yourself, you give yourself the authorization to feel without think of what others will thinking of you. So
And discuss. So, what have you discovered over the last like 8 weeks? Like, I know your work is continuing to like literally. You've worked with professional athletes all the way through to helping people get over suicide, and then people really going out of being a hermit in a shell and opening up and just being feeling full of life again. But what have you felt over the last like 8 weeks yourself with the whole discovery piece?
to tell you the truth, Steve, with all my humbleness, I discovered that I still have a lot of work to do myself.
Mm. Yeah.
So what I discovered was a beautiful time for me to see that being there is still with the womb of my life that I love so much. I was also dealing with my own things, and I feel like, well, that's a forever work, it never ends, and that give me some excitement to know, well, I can still learn a lot
Yeah.
because I think sometimes, the world does that to put you in a place where you say like, I am here powerless. I can't go where I want to go. I'm forced to sit with all my pain that my distraction as well sometimes is helping others. But at least I have done so much work on myself and I haven't even scratched the surface. So I think was a little bang from the universe saying, hey young man, keep working on yourself because that's the only way you can gonna be able to keep helping others. So to tell the truth, just awaken more my craving to learn, but also my craving to go back to my humbleness place where
Yeah.
I'm just here to serve others and to evolve as a human. That's what I'm here for.
Love it. Serve others and evolve as a human. I absolutely love that. And I think that's kind of what I discovered as well during this time. It gave not me personally the permission to continue to do the work and kind of be still. And even though it's so hard, because being in an industry that is so, and you've been in health and fitness, you've been in the fitness side of things, gyms closing, events not running ahead, is like you're in this noise from the outside, is like you need to do this, you need to pivot, you need to. And once we got through that, and as you talk about so much, is around learning how to surrender. And as soon as you can learn to surrender and be with your emotions, it gives space for other things to come in. And like it's still so hard. And as you said, working on it as self before you can help others is has been powerful for me as well. But I think it's given the human civilization a time to pause and work out what's important. And I feel like your work and work and transformation and people leaning into doing work that they really believe in doing, is this time has been a catalyst. So it's pretty exciting. What's some sort of tools and advice that you can give to people out there that are really struggling with this time right now, because there is so much stress and uncertainty right now. What are some journeys or tips that people can kind of build in? Like, if we had a toolbox, what is a toolbox that we could give to people to say this is going to help you out?
As you know, me, I don't like to go through much woo-hoo stuff. I like everything science-based as well. So
Yeah,
if I give you some tools and tips, the first one about the breath is always remember that inhalation happen naturally. So focus on your exhalation. So every time you feel like you just feel anxiety or whatsoever, you will notice that or you hold your breath on the top, or you breathe in very shallow and short and fast. So I would say focus on a very long exhalation. Relax your lower jaw. That muscle here will lead contraction or relaxation down the chain. That would be the breathing advice. I would say inhalation happen naturally, but exhalation focus in a longer one when you feel tense and tight. The other thing is try to breathe through your nose as much as you can and try to breathe when the air goes in the bottom of your lungs. That's where the biggest amount of stretch receptors in the alveoli are present, which will create that relaxation feeling by sending message to your brain through the vagus nerve. So breathe down deep on your belly, through your nose, and make sure you focus on your exhalation. That's the breath side.
yeah,
The
wow,
thing, the think side, what I will tell people is exactly what I tell to myself all the time and to everyone. It's much easier to let it go than to hold to something that's hurting you. So learn how to surrender. I love that word, but for me as well, that word can be kind of like this for a few people. So I would say, let it go what you be holding to and be painful for too long. So let it go. Let it go.
I think with that, let it go, and I'm sure you got another few tips. But that whole, some people uh, don't know how to let it go, because we're really fortunate, and we keep talking about it's about having permission and having psychological safety. Some people are fortunate enough to have that psychological safety within their house, their relationship. What are some ways to be able to give yourself permission to let go? What's a tool of being able to at least let go if you feel like you don't have? So I like letting go to someone else, whether it's Sarah, my partner, or Dom, or you. We have outlets, but for people that don't have an outlet, what are some tools that anyone can do it?
Uh, for me, my opinion, Steve, for me, what made me understand what let go means was when I saw that what I was holding to for so long was creating an amount of pain physically and emotionally that I knew that was toxic for myself. So I would tell anyone out there that's watching that video that's feeling a stage of extremely pain, even a marriage, even in a relationship, and one of the two wanted to leave the relationship, you will see that a lot of times the other one is holding to it, and the pain is so big, but is holding to it. I would say, let it go. It's like, we just an example in a relationship, for example, which I see sometimes happen with clients that are going through divorce. And the other thing you see as well, if you don't let it go, which that word can be very vague, you see that the universe or life will give you signs to let it go. And you and I will know that very well, Look what happened with you in the bench press, That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
you never imagined that would happen, but you are such a beautiful human that's been working on yourself for so long that you understood like, whoa, that's a sign that I have to let go something here. And what it is, well, letting go for so much focus on the exterior and others and just have the time to sit and be with myself, right?
yeah, man, totally. And I think I love that as what me and Sarah says is lean into pattern disruptors, like you could call them, signs from outside. So whether it was my bench press, and at that time in COVID, I was like, I need to pivot. I'm seeing all my friends. It was like go, go, go. And it was literally that thing put me on my ass and in hospital. So it was like, I can be pissed off at the bench, or I can actually take note and go, what part did I have to play in this? And what lesson can I learn out of this? And what is someone, whoever you believe in, Buddha, God, whoever, or the universe, what is it trying to teach me? So for people to look out for those pattern disruptors. If I'm walking down the beach and walking over 5 dead fish, well, I'm quick to go and go, well, what might that is, what's happening on? So I like those pattern disruptors. And yeah, anything else like the cold, again, you know how much of a warm, hot guy, I spend too much time in Fiji. Like going in the cold is freaking impossible. But again, the universe sent me a sign. I didn't realize I do know I'm on gas bottles up at my beach place, and the gas bottles had run out. So I did not have hot water in my house. So for the last, and it took a lot of time to get this gas bottle COVID. So Sandro was literally sending me a message to say, for 8 days, you're going to have a cold shower in the morning. So, and it's been transformational, like literally cut down my caffeine intake, and it does fire you up in the morning. So, yeah.
Yes. And you talk a very good point there. Cold shower, it's cold enough in New Zealand now that you can have the beautiful benefits of a cold shower, which is working your immune system, help to release some endorphin, serotonin. It's a magic bulletproof pill. But I think I would say as well is try to fast or intermittent fasting. I would say for 16 hours, if you can, or do a 2 or 1 full day fasting every now and then when you feel sluggish and that you have kind of feel like toxic or too heavy or too sluggish. Fasting is a very good tool that I use every 4 months. I do a 5-day fasting, just water, nothing else. And I would say for some people works journal. For me, what I do to myself, sometimes I record myself talking to myself and I feel emotional. So I can go back to that video and watch and like, wow, I was going through a tough time there. And surround yourself by people that will lift you, not drag you.
Lift you, not drag you. And on that point, what a perfect way to finish is like, yeah, we're here to serve people and evolve as humans, but don't be surrounded by people that drag you back. Be the ones that lift you. And that is definitely what you've done for me, mate. You have served for me in bringing in breath and respecting breath, because it is life's precious force we have. Without it, we're dead. Yeah, you keep helping me evolve, man. And well, I'm super grateful. So
I'm very grateful for you as well, Steve. Grateful for what you're doing. Grateful for meeting you. Grateful for you to see how beautiful of your journey is, and grateful that you also went to see a very special woman for me. That's Pauline, my teacher of rebirthing. That she's a powerful woman as well. That we did breathwork for 27 years.
You sent me to the next level with Pauline, and being able to go back and be able to timeline your life is super, super powerful, and go, what is repeating itself in life? And we can go, woo, it's like what happened the generation before, because we know through Bruce Lipton and science is that things can be carried forward from generation to generation. And once you even just question that and understand it, it's super powerful. So yeah, man, super grateful. Thanks for our 35 minutes, and I hope people have got something out of it. We might post some links, and when Sandro's doing some awesome virtual online workshops as well, we'll post them, because the great thing with breathwork, yes, it's super powerful in person, which is, you can't beat it, but you can also do it virtually, and Sandro does a pretty awesome guided workshop through that. So reach out to me or Sandro, and we'll make it happen for you. So thanks, Sandro.
Thank you, my brother. Love you, Steve, and I send love to all your watchers. Thank you very much. Thanks, brother.
That was awesome.